I am guru in weight loss. There ain't nobody better at getting weight off the people than me. Nobody. I put myself up against anybody.
Welcome to the Bryce Eddy Show. So today we are here at Old State Saloon doing this live over Open Carry Coffee. And today my guest is Cristy Code Red Nickel. How are you?
You looked down at your notes. I was like, there ain't no notes on there. What are you doing this off the top of your head?
Always. I'm terrible in any kind of preparation. You know, I'm an extemporaneous kind of a guy.
Yeah. Fly by the seat of your pants.
So now I was thinking about how I introduce you, other than the fact that you were a former professional boxer, and we're going to get into that because I'm curious. But are you guru status at this point in the fitness world? I think you might be.
No, not the fitness world. Weight loss. That's different than fitness. But I am guru in weight loss. There ain't nobody better at getting weight off the people than me. Nobody. I put myself up against anybody.
All right, well, I'll take guru status. I like that. I hope one day to be guru status myself. I don't know what I'd be guru about, but
jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, you know,
kill somebody and not even miss dinner.
Okay, well, you know, my official title there is professor, so I'll take that. I had a funny little side story. It said in my bio, professor, or I did a reel where I said, "Hey, Professor Bryce here." And the left went nuts. You're not a professor. You're not this. You know, and it was just such a silly thing.
Yeah.
Because, you know, yes, I am in the jiu-jitsu world, but the stuff that they get themselves excited about and all frothing about cracks me up. So I first wanted to get into your bio, kind of background. I'm super fascinated with the boxing thing because when you were coming up in that world, it's not as if that was like today where women as fighters is a thing.
Right.
You know, everybody's training mixed martial arts, all that stuff. It wasn't a thing when you were coming up in the same way. So I'd love to find out about that journey.
Yeah, and that was I fought 2002 to 2010. So that 8-year span. And the internet was not like it is now. Things were so different. It was a totally different world back then. So I just started fighting as a way to pay my way through nursing school. I grew up really poor in the mountains of northern Idaho. My dad was a police officer. My mom worked as a vet tech for minimum wage. They're both ordained ministers. And so we were really, really, really poor. And I was always told, if you wanted anything, we had a big ranch. If you wanted anything, you needed to work for it. So I grew up working for things since I think I bought my first horse at the age of 9, made $50 monthly payments to my neighbor, $500, and bought this horse. So that was always how it was coming up. So I wanted to go to nursing school, and I was bartending and waiting tables, and I was just so broke. Well, I was boxing at a local YMCA, and I'm boxing. If anybody does any boxing for the first time, they kind of box like this. Nobody boxes great for the first time. And a boxing coach was watching me from the window, and he goes, "How long have you been boxing?" I said, 44 minutes. And he said, "Oh, you have a propensity for this." Well, now that I'm a coach, I understand what he means. But I was just like, listen, he goes, "Hey, you ever thought about fighting?" And I said, "I ain't never been in a fight. I'm not interested in fighting. I don't care about boxing. I'm not interested in this at all." And he said, "You can earn money." And I said, "I'm sorry, could you speak into my good ear, please?" "What was that?" He goes, "You can earn money as a pro fighter." Well, I had no idea what I was getting myself into. I just needed money. I just need to pay my way through school. That's it. I was a nursing student by day and a fighter by night, and I just fought. Well, quickly I learned in the fight industry, when you are a girl, if you're pretty and you can fight, then you get more fight opportunities. Because two dudes, the guys that buy the tickets, they don't want to watch two girls that are ugly go at it. They just don't. So if you're pretty and you can fight, you get more fight opportunities. So I learned about marketing in boxing. It's all about the marketing. It's all about the butts and the seats. And so I figured that out. I was a pretty good fighter. I mean, I was ranked one of the top 3 most dangerous females on the planet during my reign. Not now. Now I'd herniate a disc. Now I'd be like, "Ooh, I gotta warm up a little bit." Wait a minute. And so I ended up doing 15 pro fights. I did 5 knockouts. I went all over the world over the almost 8 years. And it was just, it got good quick. I learned the industry quick, and I got pretty good quick. And it's all about the showmanship. You got to get butts in the seats. You got to sell those tickets. You got to market yourself well. So it was a good career. I had my own MTV show. I fought at Madison Square Garden. I fought in different countries. So it was fine. It was good. It just was terrible. Like I fought in Beijing and my nose came off the side of my face in Beijing, was dangling there. I ended up putting my girl in a coma. I ended up having to have my nose put back on my face. It's a terrible sport. It's a terrible sport. But those jujitsu people, those MMA people, oh dear Lord in heaven, you don't want to mess with one of those folks. Like they'll kill you. They're no joke. And so they asked if I wanted to go into that after boxing. And I was like, elbow to the eye socket? No, thank you. No.
Yeah. I was curious about that because, do you think though, if you started up in boxing, like, more in this era, and train a little jujitsu, do you think you might have been, more drawn to that?
Yeah, that's the way to go. I mean, from a business standpoint, if you want to try to make it in this sport, you got to be in the MMA kind of area. Boxing is kind of not really big anymore, and back then it was. Back then we didn't have the internet. We had print, we had newspaper, we had magazines, we had radio, we had things like that. And so it was just a different day back then. And now it's MMA and it's about the internet and it's about the following you have, and it's just different. So yeah, I would have gone the MMA route if I had to do it over again.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because when I was coming up through, mixed martial arts myself, it was right at the beginning of it all. I was offered a fight, and they were going to pay me $1,500, and things like that. And it's like, man, I'm a businessman. No thanks. You got to have a little something extra if that's how you want to earn a living.
Yes.
But it was fun, and so all the fighters were my friends, and it was a tiny little community that nobody really knew what it was. But if I had come up, during this era, okay, would it have been different? I don't know. Would I have been more drawn to actually professionally fighting? I don't know.
There are only 2,000 female fighters on the entire planet. So it's really, you got to fight different weights. I was fighting at 154 pounds. I had to go down to 150. I fought at Madison Square Garden at 149. They always say fight your weight because we tried to make a fight with Layla Ali and I couldn't come up high enough and she wouldn't come down. She was at 165, so we were going to meet at 160. She wouldn't come down. I wouldn't go up because you slow down the heavier you get. Yeah. So it's a really crazy sport to try to make it, and the money, you get kind of drawn in to I got used to seeing my name in lights, and it was like Cristy Code Red from MTV and woo, and then, but I knew the punches were hurting worse. It was harder to. It was just getting
a lot of abuse.
A lot of abuse. And it was the training. You're sparring with guys. This whole men and women's sports. Guys, I ran a boxing gym in Georgia. I ran a boxing gym in Augusta, Georgia. We'd never let our kids box the boys, our girls box. What? No way. I would spar with 15-year-olds. Here I am, a grown woman. The 15-year-old was more my strength equivalent. And so you don't want to, this whole boxing men thing is, I've done that before. And that's the training is what'll get you injured because it's every other day sparring.
Yeah, I don't know, Cristy, if I believe you because the left has been telling me that there's no difference between men and women at all. Trans women are women. I've been told this whole sorts of things. So
they've never fought one then.
Yeah, no. I mean, it's true. I had an argument one time about Ronda Rousey versus me with a buddy who didn't understand mixed martial arts or anything like that, and he's like, man, she would smoke you. I'm like,
oh my gosh,
that's not really the way it works. I go, listen, man, I'm at the peak of my game right now, and she is a female, and she wouldn't even think that she could beat me.
Yeah.
And it's just, we're built differently. We're built to be very complementary.
Yes. But
somehow being built differently in today's world is as if there are, negative or terrible differences between us rather than, the blessing that men and women are different. I heard a comedian the other day and I thought it was great. He said, my favorite thing about chicks? I said, okay, what's your favorite thing about chicks? They're not dudes.
Yeah.
And I thought that, okay, boil it down.
I'm so disappointed to see the other boxing coaches in the sport that have not stood up for our fighters, our boxers, and they've been letting them get in the ring. I would never in a million years let one of my kids get in the ring with a boy. I'm just like, whoa, we don't do that. No. So I'm surprised that we haven't protected our kids better than this.
Yeah. Now, contrasting that, and I've written articles on that. So, my 3 daughters train jiu-jitsu. And they will not very often, but like when they're coming up, with like the teenage boys and things like that, under serious observation, they'll train, right?
Yes.
And I think it's important for girls to feel that strength, understand that, and also because jiu-jitsu is grappling based. Learning how to deal with a bigger, heavier opponent, especially for women, is incredible. And so my girls are, really attack proof in some regards when it comes to men and things like that. They know how to handle business, and by that means they're not going to fight them, right? They're going to be able to make a means for escape, and that's what jiu-jitsu allows for women, is they get to make a means for escape, and that's why I think people are under a little bit of a delusion doing some of the other martial arts, the striking based things and all that. Because if you're going to fight a guy who's just a competent street fighter or just a thug, you're not going to get away with much, and you're not going to be effective with your strikes and things like that if there's a guy that's a criminal meant to do harm. So
yeah, we all people always say that about me. Oh, Cristy, you could blah blah blah. You could. I can run is what I could do. I can run. That's what I'm gonna.
That's the best martial art there is.
I'm not even too afraid to say that. I'm not even gonna try to take on a guy. My sparring partner would come in drunk to the gym, and I still couldn't really get one over on him. He would halfway do his punches, and I would still have to really pay attention. So I can't believe people that think that would be that they could take on a guy. It's ridiculous.
Well, I think the tide is turning in regards to that, and more people are being brave, including in all the sporting communities. I mean, shout out to Governor Brad Little here. He put out a post the other day. I think he's been soft on a bunch of things. I'd like us to be friends. I'd love to encourage him to be stronger on certain things, but he did say that he's protecting women's sports here in the state of Idaho, and I want to give him a shout out because that is
he's the first one. The first one.
Because, kudos to, Boise State and the women's volleyball team saying no to that nonsense. And we need to not participate in their insanity. The more we bow out of their insanity, the better it will be for the long term. And we need everybody to kind of stand up and be brave and speak out against those things.
Yeah. And I have been brave about speaking out online. And then whenever I start to get some pushback, I say, no, hold on a minute. I've actually done it. You ain't never even been slapped before. You don't even have room to talk here. You don't have a room to talk.
Oh, I want to put a pin in that, and I want to come back to that for a moment. But I'd love to go back to boxing. And what was, because I'm curious, I like boxing, and I do see that in certain respects it's making a resurgence, and there's some excitement about it. But what was your style? What was your strength as a boxer?
I don't have to. It feels like a lifetime ago.
Being a great marketeer and being pretty.
Yeah, right. Knowing I got to wear a little makeup in the ring. I think my style was I was just an regular Orthodox fighter. I didn't start early enough when I was really, really, really young. I started a little older. I started in my 20s. And so that's old to start. We started at 7 years old. So I didn't have enough time to really build up my style and become my own thing. I had a great right hand. All my knockouts were all straight right hands, which I did train the NYPD, the academy, the guys coming up through the academy. And when I lived in New York, I was responsible for training them one good punch. If you need to know one good punch and you're a right-handed person, then the straight right is the best one to do. Don't try to get fancy with all these hooks, the left hook to the liver. I'm going to do, no. One straight right hand to knock the bad guy out. And so I think my straight right was good. I was quick with it. I was powerful, followed by a nice uppercut. You can get fancy. You don't need fancy. You just need one good punch to knock her out and everybody can go eat.
Yeah, I love that. I wonder if they're still doing that. Most police departments are not teaching combatives anymore.
This was years ago when I was in New York.
And they're not teaching, punching. They're not teaching enough hands-on stuff. And we've seen that, and I've been very critical of it because I helped teach some arrest control programs for various law enforcement agencies. And laying hands on somebody is having the confidence to lay hands on somebody and being very effective there as a police officer prevents violence, and it prevents you from getting nervous, losing a fight, going direct to tools and things like that, which you see a lot of the shootings and things like that today come from a lack of confidence in being able to handle something. And there's verbal de-escalation, but there's also physical de-escalation. If you are very confident physically and you put your hands on somebody, you watch those police doing the quit resisting, quit resisting, quit resisting. And they're playing this like long game that winds the suspect up versus quick, strong, powerful, safe, and it's over.
Yeah.
And they've gone so far away from that, but there is a de-escalation that happens when, I put my hands on you and you feel, oh, this guy knows what he's doing. He knows how to use his weight. I'm going to go down. I might as well comply. And we've gone far away from that.
Female cops, I see these female cops. They're 122 pounds. They ain't gonna be taking on a bad guy. Like how they can't be cops without manipulating right? Or they need two girl cops on shift. Yeah. I gotta tell you. It makes me a little nervous seeing the girl cops. I love them. I want to make sure, can they handle it without having that manipulation skill?
It's interesting, and generally no, which is why they're over relying upon tasers and other less lethals, and I think it's a mistake. All police officers should train and cross train, but primarily in some kind of combat sport. Grappling of some kind, jiu-jitsu is top of that list. And doing that, you will be more effective as a police officer, and you'll carry yourself with greater confidence, and you'll be far more capable. And we've gone away from that as a necessary or mandatory thing to it being a voluntary thing. And shout out to the police officers. Obviously, I've trained a ton of them that determine that is a part of their job. To be training seriously so that they can protect you, your loved ones, and themselves. Ultimately, if they're good at it, there's going to be less incidences of shootings. There's going to be less injuries. There's going to be all of that on the job. It's going to be so much better. So if you are a police officer and you're listening to this, we got all kinds of great jiu-jitsu schools around the country. You need to get involved.
Yeah, but you need to practice also, because even just the first thing when we come out of the womb, the first thing we do is we do this right here. This is how we are out of the womb. So training yourself to turn your fist over and punch and hitting with that middle knuckle, that's a trained thing you have to do.